What if the person you trust the most is the one you should fear? A question no teenager should ever have to ask. A question that shakes the very core of innocence, family, and love. And for one pregnant teen, it became the beginning of a nightmare. Her name is Alicia, just 17. Expecting her first child, planning a future she believed was safe, certain, and filled with hope. But everything changed the night her boyfriend, Evan, vanished. No fight, no warning, no goodbye. Just gone. At first, everyone thought he ran away. Stress, fear, the pressure of becoming a young father. That's what people whispered. That's what they preferred to believe. But Alicia knew better. Evan wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a coward. He wouldn't leave her. Not now. Not like this. She felt it in her bones. Something was wrong. And yet, the person comforting her the most, the one holding her through the sleepless nights, the one telling her everything will be okay, was the very person hiding the truth, her mother. A woman known for her strict rules, her sharp instincts, her fierce protectiveness, but also a woman with shadows in her past. Secrets she never explained, rage she never controlled. For weeks, Alicia lived in a fog of grief and hope. Police searched, neighbors gossiped, rumors spread, but no answers ever came. Until one night, they did, and they came from a place no one expected. Alicia found it by accident, an item out of place tucked where it shouldn't be. A small blood-speck bracelet, Evan's bracelet, the one she gave him, the one he never took off, hidden inside her mother's drawer. Her hands shook, her breath froze, her heart threatened to collapse. Why was it there? How did it get there, and why was her mother suddenly standing behind her, watching? The tension in the house shifted that night. Walls felt thinner. Rooms felt colder. Every sound felt dangerous. And Alicia realized something horrifying. Her mother wasn't trying to protect her from the truth. She was trying to protect herself. Because her mother knew where Evan was. She knew how he disappeared. She knew why he never came back. But Alicia didn't confront her. Not yet. Fear had her trapped. Fear and the baby she now needed to survive for. She moved carefully, listened quietly, watched closely. Bits and pieces began to fall together. Strange scratches on her mother's wrist, a torn jacket hidden beneath the car seat, a late-night conversation she overheard, her mother whispering on the phone, "No one will find out. I made sure." Every detail pointed toward a truth too disturbing to believe. But it wasn't until a neighbor's security camera footage surfaced, unexpected, blurry, but unmistakable, that Alicia's world shattered. The video showed Evan, walking, scared, looking back over his shoulder. And behind him, a figure following, a figure moving with calculated purpose, a figure whose silhouette Alicia recognized instantly. Her mother. The timeline aligned, the evidence stacked, the horror grew. Why would she do it? What pushed a mother to cross the darkest line? What secret was she hiding that was worth taking a life? Alicia didn't know the answers yet, but she knew one thing. Her mother wasn't the woman she thought she was. She wasn't the guardian she pretended to be. She wasn't the protector she claimed to be. She was something else. Something far more dangerous. And Alicia, pregnant, scared, alone, was now living under the same roof as the person who killed the father of her child. The walls were closing in. The truth was crawling out. And the final confrontation was coming. Because secrets this dark don't stay buried forever. And neither do killers. Before the disappearance, before the bracelet, before the horrifying truth shattered everything, there was just Alicia and Evan, two teenagers trying to navigate life in a quiet suburban town where nothing ever changed. Until it did. Alicia grew up in a small, modest home on the corner of Maplewood Drive. A home that looked peaceful from the outside, freshly cut grass, potted flowers, warm yellow curtains. But inside, life wasn't as gentle. Her mother, Marion, ran the house with rules drilled in stone. No late nights. No questionable friends. No secrets. No mistakes. And for most of her life, Alicia followed those rules. She didn't know stability outside of them. She didn't know any life other than the one her mother shaped for her. But everything began to shift the day she met Evan. He was the opposite of her world. Soft-spoken, artistic, and endlessly patient. He didn't come from much, but what he lacked in money, he made up for in something far more valuable to Alicia: gentleness. Evan treated her like she mattered, like her voice had weight, like her heart had room to grow. And slowly she let him in. They met at school in the back corner of the art room, both pretending to be focused on their projects. He drew landscapes. She painted skies. Two quiet kids creating their own worlds, unaware their lives were about to intertwine. Evan came from a complicated home too, but unlike Marianne, his parents' battles weren't loud. They were silent, cold, absence instead of anger. So he found warmth in Alicia, a reason to stay, a reason to hope. Their relationship started slow, afternoon walks, sneaking laughs in hallways, sharing secrets under streetlights, all the simple, innocent things young love is made of. But Marian didn't approve. She didn't like Evan's background, didn't like his independence, didn't like the way he encouraged Alicia to think for herself. Most of all, she didn't like losing control. Marian believed she was protecting her daughter from the world, from danger, from disappointment. But in reality, she was creating a cage made of fear. Still, Alicia fought for Evan. Little rebellions at first, a skipped chore here, a late return home there. Tiny cracks in her mother's perfect order. But with each crack, Marian's grip tightened, and then came the moment that changed everything. Alicia discovered she was pregnant, 17, scared, uncertain, but also hopeful because Evan didn't run, he didn't panic, he didn't disappear. He held her hands and promised they'd figure it out together. They talked about small apartments, part-time jobs, evening classes. Dreams that felt fragile but possible. For the first time, Alicia imagined a life outside her mother's rules. And that terrified Marianne. To her, the pregnancy wasn't just a mistake, it was a threat to Alicia's future, to the life she thought she'd planned for her daughter, and to the tight, controlled world she had built. Her anger simmered, her voice sharpened, her patience thinned. Alicia noticed the change immediately. Sudden coldness, silent meals, piercing looks whenever Evan's name came up. Something dark was blooming beneath Marian's calm face. But Alicia didn't understand the depth of it. Not yet. Evan tried to be respectful, tried to earn Marian's trust, tried to show he wasn't the reckless boy she believed he was. But nothing he did mattered. Marian had already decided he wasn't good enough. He wasn't responsible enough. He wasn't safe enough for her daughter. And slowly something dangerous twisted inside her, an idea that started small but grew as her fear grew, a belief that she was the only one who could save Alicia, even if it meant doing something unthinkable. Meanwhile, Alicia sensed the tension rising, but didn't know what to call it. Didn't know how to explain it. Didn't know that she was living in the middle of a storm forming quietly around her. All she knew was that Evan kept her grounded. He kept her hopeful. He kept her strong. But fate doesn't care about hope, and storms don't stop because someone wishes they would. Something was coming, something heavy, something irreversible. The kind of darkness that starts in whispers and ends in silence. Before the night Evan disappeared, before the bracelet, the camera footage, the truth, there were signs. Small, subtle, easy to ignore until it was too late. At first they looked like normal family tensions, a strict mother, a teenage daughter pushing boundaries, a boyfriend trying to fit into a world that didn't want him. But underneath those everyday moments, danger was quietly forming. It began with Marian's silence, not anger, not yelling, just silence. Cold, heavy, controlled silence that stretched across dinner tables and living room sofas. Whenever Evan visited, Marian would watch him with a tight jaw and narrowed eyes, saying almost nothing. No greetings, no small talk, just a stare that made him shift uncomfortably in his seat. Alicia thought it was awkwardness. Evan thought it was disapproval. Neither of them realized it was something deeper brewing, something far more dangerous. Then came the first real red flag. One afternoon, Evan stopped by unannounced to bring Alicia food during her morning sickness. Something small, something sweet. But Marian snapped. She opened the door, blocked his way, and told him he was interfering. Her voice was too calm, too tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Evan left, shaken. Alicia confronted her mother later, but Marian simply said, "I know what's best for you. He doesn't need kids." That sentence echoed for days. Then came the unexpected calls. Marian began phoning Alicia every hour whenever she was out, checking where she was with when she'd return. And when Alicia mentioned Evan's name, Marian's tone changed instantly. Sharp, suspicious, accusing. "You're letting him distract you. We're making a mistake. He's going to ruin your life." Words coded in fear, but delivered with something darker beneath. Alicia brushed it off as overprotective parenting. She didn't see the storm forming yet. The next warning sign came from Evan's side. He started telling Alicia he felt watched, not by strangers, by her mother. He'd see her car parked near his street sometimes. See her at the grocery store when he knew she never shopped on that side of town. See her lingering near the school parking lot longer than necessary. At first, he thought it was coincidence. Then he wasn't so sure. Evan told Alicia once, "I think your mom hates me." Alicia laughed gently and brushed his hair back, telling him he was imagining things. But deep down, she knew he wasn't wrong. Then came the incident with the phone. Alicia left her cell phone charging in the kitchen one night. When she returned, Marion was holding it, unlocked, scrolling. Alicia froze. "Why are you looking through my messages?" she asked. Marion didn't even flinch. "I'm making sure you're safe," she said, her voice cold, unapologetic. Certain. Alicia grabbed the phone back, but something inside her shifted that night. A sliver of fear, a spark of realization. Something wasn't right. More red flags appeared quickly after. Marion began limiting Alicia's outings. She demanded to know every detail of her day. She criticized Evan for everything, his part-time job, his clothes, his plans for the future. And then something even stranger. One evening, when Evan came over to discuss prenatal appointments, Marion refused to let him inside. "He's not welcome here anymore," she said. Her tone wasn't angry. It was final. Evan tried to reason with her, tried to show respect, but she cut him off sharply and closed the door in his face. Alicia cried for hours after he left. Marion said nothing. She simply watched, studied her daughter, measured every tear, as if assessing how strong her hold still was. The most alarming sign, though, came weeks later. Alicia overheard her mother arguing on the phone, her voice low, tense, threatening. "She doesn't need him," she said. "He's not going to be part of this. I'll handle it." A chill moved through Alicia's body. She didn't know who Marion was talking to. She didn't know what she meant. She didn't know the weight of those words. But something in her mother's tone, cold, final, unwavering, told her that whatever was happening, it wasn't normal. It wasn't protective. It wasn't maternal. It wasn't safe. Little did Alicia know, those moments were not random. Not harmless, not misunderstandings. They were warnings. The kind of warnings you only recognize when it's already too late. Because behind every cold stare, every silent dinner, every carefully chosen word, Marion's plan was already forming. And soon, it would be too late to stop it. But this was only the beginning. The tension tightened. Like a wire pulled taut, one pull away from snapping, it started with a plan. Small, practical, convincing. Marion told herself it was for Alicia, for her future, for the baby. She rehearsed her words. She measured her steps. She made sure there were no loose ends. Evans sensed the change. He called more, visited less, kept his distance when he could. But distance didn't stop Marion. It drew her in. She watched him, learned his routines, noted the times he walked alone, noted the routes he took home. She found his vulnerabilities, a late shift at the diner, a habit of taking Maple Lane when he wanted to be faster, a phone left unlocked on the passenger seat. She used those details like tools. Then came the night she chose. It was ordinary. Clouds scattered, street lights buzzing. Evan walked home after closing the diner. He was tired. He was distracted. He was distracted. He was thinking of Alicia's laugh. Marion saw him from her car, a silhouette under the amber light. She parked 2 houses down. Engine off. Lights dim. She stepped out. Moved like she belonged on that sidewalk, a woman with a shopping bag, a neighbor taking a walk, nothing to see. When Evan passed, she fell into step behind him. Soft footfalls, no rush, no panic. He walked faster, she matched him, calm, controlled. A stray dog barked, a car hummed past. The world kept moving. She reached out and touched his sleeve. "Manners," she said, "friendly. Can I talk to you?" Evan froze. Polite confusion. He knew her voice. He knew her face. They spoke for a minute. Small talk. Questions about Alicia. A few pointed words. A warning masked his concern. Then she offered a ride. A short drive. To clear the air. To keep things civil. He hesitated. But he accepted. Maybe to prove himself. Maybe to appease. Inside the car, the air changed. Marion drove. No music. Just steady breathing. Her hand steady on the wheel. She asked about the baby, about plans, about promises made. He answered, trusting, naive. Her voice stayed calm, so calm it sounded rehearsed. At a quiet turn, she stopped, said there was a flat tire, said she'd call for help, said to wait in the car. He stepped out, took a breath, peered at the road. That's when she struck. It wasn't a single blow. It was calculated, a series of movements practiced in silence, a press, a shove, His balance betrayed him. He fell back against the curb. Confusion flickered in his eyes. He reached for her. He stumbled. She grabbed his arm. He pushed. She pushed harder. Words were exchanged. Quick, sharp, desperate. His breath came fast. Panic spread like cold through his chest. Marion's face hardened. She moved with purpose. No hesitation. A shove, a struggle, a flash of metal, a small blade kept for yard work. A thing she kept hidden in the glove compartment. Blood came quick, surprising. Loud in the silent street, Evan fought. He begged. He apologized. He asked her to stop. She didn't stop. She covered his mouth. She covered his cries with a pleading whisper. "This is for you. This is for your future." It felt immediate. A moment stretched thin, then broken. When it was over, the street was the same. Amber light, distant cars, a dog that had moved on. Marion stood breathing, hands trembling now, reality rushing in like cold water. She dragged him to the trunk, wrapped him in a tarp, moved with the mechanical efficiency of someone closing a book. She told herself stories as she worked. That this was necessary, that Alicia would be safe, that no one would trace this back to her. She drove away. The town slept, a silent witness. Back home, she wiped the car, hung the tarp in the garage, placed Evan's bracelet in a drawer, a small token to remember the necessity of her act. Inside, she became the woman she had always been. Soft voice, meals prepared, a hand on Alicia's shoulder when she needed it. Everything normal, everything perfectly placed. Only the silence between the walls knew the truth. Only the night sky kept the secret for a few hours longer. And somewhere, a missing person report waited to be filed. A bracelet would be found. A camera would show a silhouette. But for Marianne, in that instant, after the crime, there was only one thought. She had protected her daughter. She had crossed the line. She had killed for love. And the line between love and madness had been erased. Night has a way of hiding things. It softens colors, blurs movement, covers truths in a blanket of quiet. But on the night Evan disappeared, nothing felt soft. Nothing felt quiet. Nothing felt hidden. Every detail of what happened was deliberate, calculated, measured by a woman who believed she was saving her daughter, no matter the cost. Marion had rehearsed the moment in her mind for days. Every angle, every word she might need. Every possible reaction Evan could have. And yet, when the moment arrived, it still felt unreal, like she was watching herself from outside her own body. After luring Evan into the car under the pretense of talking things out, she drove him to a secluded stretch of road on the outskirts of town, a place she'd known since childhood. A place where the streetlights flickered just enough to make the edges of the road disappear. As they pulled over, Evan's posture changed. He sensed something. Not danger exactly, but wrongness. "Is something wrong?" he asked. The simplicity of his question nearly cracked Marianne. For a second, the mother in her, a small buried part, whispered for her to stop. But her fear screamed louder. She told him she needed help checking the tire. A small request, reasonable, harmless on the surface. Evan stepped out, cooperative, as always. He crouched, inspecting the tire, tracing the rubber with his hand. "I don't think it's flat," he said softly. Marion stood behind him, hands trembling, not from guilt, but from the terrifying certainty that this was the only way. In her mind, she saw Alicia, 17, pregnant, hopeful, dependent. She saw a future where Evan walked away, where he failed her daughter, where Alicia's life unraveled. The fear twisted and grew until it felt like a living thing inside her. She spoke quietly. "Evan, we need to talk about Alicia." He turned confused but attentive. He told her he loved Alicia. Told her he wanted to be there. Told her he would never abandon her. But Marion didn't believe him. Not because he was lying, but because her fear didn't allow her to hear the truth. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Ooh, you're already ruining her life." He stood slowly, his face tightening with worry. "Mrs. Hale, I'm trying. I swear I'm trying." But Marion was past listening, past trusting, past hoping. She reached into her coat, pulled out the object she'd taken from the garage earlier that day, a blunt tool she always kept for emergencies. Tonight she'd convinced herself this was one. Evan stepped back, his breath caught. He raised his hands in instinctive defense, confusion turning to fear. Mom, wait, please." But she moved forward, not in a frenzy, not in rage, but with a chilling mechanical calm. A mother convinced she was preventing a disaster. What happened next didn't take long. It wasn't loud. It wasn't wild. It was terrifying in its quietness. A struggle, a gasp, a desperate plea swallowed by the empty night. And then, stillness. Marion stepped back, breath shaky, hands trembling. The enormity of what she'd done stood in front of her like a shadow with no end. For the first time that night, doubt crept in. What if she'd misjudged him? What if he truly wanted to stay? What if, just once, her fear had lied to her? But the thought came too late. She had crossed the point of no return. Her movements afterward were automatic, cold, efficient. She dragged him toward the car, her hands shaking so violently she had to pause twice to steady herself. She avoided looking directly at him, avoided thinking of Alicia's smile when she talked about him, avoided remembering the softness in Evan's voice whenever he said her daughter's name. She placed him in the trunk gently, almost tenderly, like a mother putting away something fragile. Then she closed it with a soft click, a sound that would haunt her long after. On the silent drive home, Marian rehearsed her next steps: clean the trunk, hide the tool, wash her hands, stay calm, stay strong, stay in control. She parked 2 blocks away to avoid waking Alicia with the engine. Inside the house, she washed her hands twice, changed her clothes, forced her breathing steady. She looked in the mirror. A woman stared back, eyes hollow, skin pale, fear buried under layers of denial. She whispered to her reflection, "I did the right thing." But even then, her voice shook. She hadn't just crossed the line. She had erased it completely. And the truth, dark, heavy, and inevitable, was waiting to be uncovered. Everything was about to fall apart. And Marian knew it. She just didn't know how soon. Morning came quietly. Birds, sunlight, a town waking up the same way it always did. But inside Alicia's house, nothing felt the same. Evan didn't answer her texts. He didn't return her calls. He didn't show up for their appointment. At first, Alicia tried to stay calm. Maybe he overslept. Maybe he misplaced his phone. Maybe he needed space. But as hours passed, dread crept in, slow, cold, tightening around her chest. She contacted his friends, his workplace, even his parents. No one had seen him. By the afternoon, Evan was officially missing, and with that single report, the quiet suburban town shifted. Detectives canvassed neighborhoods. Officers knocked on doors. Neighbors whispered on porches. A teenage boy had vanished, a soon-to-be father, a gentle kid with no enemies. Something was wrong. The investigation began immediately. Detectives visited Alicia's home, asking routine questions. Where was she last night? Did she fight with Evan? Did he mention running away? Alicia answered honestly. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. She didn't know it, but her fear was the first clue police noticed. Then they turned to Marian. Her demeanor was eerily calm. Too calm. She offered coffee, answered questions smoothly, spoke with polite concern. But detectives were trained to notice more than words. They noticed her overly detailed timeline, her insistence that Evan was unstable and a flight risk, her claim that he had talked about leaving town. No one else had heard that story. Still, without evidence, suspicion alone meant nothing. The investigation spread outward. Security cameras, phone records, witness statements. It took 2 days for a breakthrough. A neighbor on Maple Lane reported seeing a car parked strangely close to midnight. A dark sedan, engine off, lights dimmed, engine off, lights dimmed. Detectives reviewed a doorbell camera near that street. The footage was grainy, blurry, but unmistakable. It showed Evan walking and a figure following behind him. The silhouette matched Marian's height, her posture, her gait. Detectives re-interviewed her. This time she stuttered once, just once, but enough to raise alarms. Still, no physical evidence, not yet. 3 days later, Alicia found the bracelet. Evan's bracelet, a one he wore every day, the one he never removed, hidden in her mother's drawer. Her scream echoed through the house. Froze. When detectives arrived, Alicia handed them the bracelet, shaking uncontrollably. Marian tried to explain it away. He must have left it here weeks ago, but the detectives had already noticed the faint trace of dried blood on the clasp. This wasn't forgotten jewelry. This was evidence. The house became a crime scene. They found more clues, tire marks near the garage, a small smear in the trunk that glowed bright under forensic light, a discarded tarp with fibers matching Evan's jacket. Piece by piece, the truth assembled itself. Marianne was arrested at dawn. Alicia watched from the driveway, tears streaming, her hands covering her stomach as if to protect the baby from the world collapsing around her. Marian didn't resist, didn't cry, didn't speak, just stared forward, hollow and unblinking. The town froze. People couldn't understand. And a mother murdering her daughter's boyfriend? A grandmother to be destroying her own family? It was unthinkable, but the evidence was undeniable. The prosecution built its case fast. Phone records showed Marianne had followed Evan multiple times in the weeks before the crime. Camera footage placed her near the scene. The tool found in her garage carried microscopic traces consistent with the roadside altercation. And then, the most damning piece, a recorded phone call from the night before the murder, discovered in phone backups. Marianne's voice, strained, desperate, saying, "He's not taking her life away. I won't let that happen. I'll handle it." In court, Alicia testified. Her voice trembled, but her truth didn't. Evan's parents testified. Broken, grief-stricken. Forensic experts testified precise, clinical. When Marianne took the stand, the courtroom held its breath. Her story crumbled under cross-examination. Her lies twisted. Her explanations conflicted. And yet, even in the courtroom, her face showed no regret, no fear, no apology. She stared blankly ahead, as though convinced she'd done the right thing. The verdict was swift. Guilty. On all counts, Alicia sat in the gallery, shaking, her world destroyed, her heart shattered, her trust ruined. But the truth was finally out. The storm had broken. Cold, incomplete, but real, had been delivered. Yet the cost was irreversible. In the end, this case stood as one of the most chilling examples of how love, fear, and control can twist into something unrecognizable. A pregnant teenager searching for safety, a boyfriend trying to stand by her, and a mother whose obsession with protecting her daughter spiraled into something dark, irreversible, and deadly. What began as a quiet family struggle unfolded into a tragedy that stunned an entire community. The courtroom was silent on the final day of the trial. Reporters filled every row, cameras waiting outside the doors, all focused on a single woman, the mother whose actions tore two young lives apart. As the judge read the verdict, she showed the same expression she had shown during the investigation, during the interrogations, during every minute of testimony: cold, distant, unreadable. Even in the courtroom, her face showed no regret, no sorrow, no acknowledgement of what she had taken away. For the daughter, the reality was unbearable. She entered that courtroom not just as a witness, but as someone who had been forced to face the truth piece by piece. She listened to investigators describe the timeline. She heard the prosecutor lay out motive. She watched surveillance clips, heard 911 calls, and saw photos that would stay burned into her memory forever. She had come seeking closure, but instead, she walked away with a wound she knew would never fully heal. The community struggled too. Friends of the victim spoke about his kindness, his loyalty, his excitement for the baby he would never get to meet. Teachers described him as quiet but determined, working long hours to earn money for the future he believed he was building. Neighbors left flowers on sidewalks. Social media turned his name into a story that traveled far beyond the small suburb where he lived his short life. And the mother? Her explanation changed again and again: fear, protection, anger, and argument gone wrong. But thing never changed. Her insistence that she did what she had to do, that, more than anything, chilled the courtroom. The sentencing was long and emotional. The daughter pleaded for justice, her voice trembling but steady. She didn't cry on the stand. She had cried too much already. Instead, she spoke about the boy she loved, the future they had planned, the hope they had held on to even when everything around them felt unstable. She spoke about the night she lost him, the lies she believed, and the moment detectives finally told her the truth. Her final words echoed long after she stepped down. "She didn't protect me. She destroyed everything." When the judge delivered the sentence, there was no dramatic outburst, no gasp, no breakdown. Just a heavy silence, the kind that presses on every wall. The mother did not look at her daughter. She simply nodded, as if accepting a reality she had created with her own hands. And so the case closed, legally at least. But emotional cases like these never truly close. The daughter carried the weight every day. The child she brought into the world would one day ask questions. And one day, she would have to decide exactly how much of this dark story to reveal. This case leaves us with a question that lingers long after the verdict. How far can love twist before it becomes something dangerous? And when does a protection become destruction? As we close this story, think about the warning signs, the overlooked moments, the instincts ignored until it was too late. Real-life tragedies don't appear out of nowhere. They grow quietly, slowly in the shadows we convince ourselves not to look at. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think was the turning point in this case? The moment where everything crossed the line? Was it fear, Control? Jealousy? Something deeper? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown compelling and want more deep dive true crime stories, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more real investigations, more chilling narratives, and more insight into the darkest corners of human behavior. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next story.